Okay. A couple more folks are coming in. Happy beautiful Saturday. I hope someone is going to go to the beach after this because the weather is just delicious in Miami. Absolutely gorgeous. All right, well, I think we can get started. Seeing as it is really great weather, so everyone should just like focus on getting this over with, and they can work on their application on the beach. Get inspired by the ocean. So my name is Esther Park, and I am the Vice President of Programming here at Ulite Arts. And I am so thrilled to be joined by one of our Ellies Teacher Award winner, Mark Russell. Ooh,
Good
yes.
morning.
And
Afternoon. Sorry.
so yeah, good afternoon, good morning. Depends. It's going to be recorded, so anyone can just zoom in and log on and see this any time of the day and night. So I'm also joined by my colleague Laura Guerrero, who is kind of working behind the scenes, and she'll be answering any questions in the chat and getting any information for you. So feel free to ping her. And yeah, we can get started. So the Ellies, for those that know, this is our seventh year doing the Ellies. The Ellies is named after the founder of Ulite Arts, formerly known as Art Center South Florida, Ellie Schneiderman. And what we do is we give out $500,000 every year to working artists in our community. And along with that, we give out 3 teacher travel grants to working art teachers in Dade County. And so that is something that it has been near and dear to our mission. And we all know teachers are the best, and art teachers are the best of the best. Am I right, Mark?
That's a fact.
That's a fact. And
We
but
all the
yeah,
best, for sure.
what were you saying?
I said we appreciate all the other teachers, but our teachers are definitely the best.
Yeah, I agree. We're a little biased. But part of that too is, our teachers need to go out and explore, right? They need to be inspired. And part of this teacher travel grant is that we give $5,000, which is unrestricted, towards your travels. And that is can go for flights, that can go for hotels, that can go for tours, classes. Some folks have actually participated in workshops in other countries. So the 5,000 is unrestricted. And Mark, you can also explain that too of how you kind of utilize the 5,000, whether, we don't expect you guys to use all the 5,000 on spending like Gucci and Prada. I hope that's not the case.
No,
Right,
that's
Mark? But yeah, so it really is towards your travel. And also part of that application process is that there is some sort of curriculum that you will be bringing back to your classroom. So that is something that is really imperative with this applicant. So it can't be just, oh, I'm burnt out, I just want to go to Bali. It's like, no, no, no. There has to be some form of learning, some form of education that you will then be inspired to bring some sense of a curriculum or a project to your classroom. So, without further ado, I wanted to introduce Mark. So, Mark, tell us why an art teacher? Like, give us like your origin story. Like, how did you start? I know you're also a
um
working artist.
right. For me, honestly speaking, how I got into teaching art, it was an art teacher that inspired me to teach art. Growing up, my parents, okay, you can draw cool, but art wasn't really a thing. My mom, high school graduate, and she just, worked her 9 to 5, but she wanted us to go, and my stepdad wanted us to go into a career path that would make us money. So my stepdad told me early on, man, you gotta kind of hang the art thing up, bro. You can't make it as an artist. And for me personally, like that has been my since then has been my life's mission to dispel that myth.
Mm,
And so I decided when I was getting ready to graduate, I went to Miami National University of Art and Design, AI downtown Miami, for short.
mhm,
But upon graduating, I had they kind of train us up to go into like the design field, but I had a choice. And, the design field was always there, and I thought it would be cool at the time to teach at my alma mater, which is Miami Northwestern. And I was like, it'll be
Mm.
cool to go back and teach at my high school. And I applied and they were like, yes, you are perfect. And I don't know what happened, but something happened and other schools got a hold of me and they just start calling and things were like Northwestern was like, hey, we have the position for you, but we got to go through some I don't know what they call it, but it was some things holding them back from hiring me. And I was like, okay, cool. And I'm like, well, just to make sure I'm okay, let me just at least hear what some of the other schools were saying. And I didn't know any better at the time, but the principal whose school I ended up going to, when I interviewed with her, I was like, I already got a job, but I'll talk with you. Um, and when that was, the first and last time, like I ended up I'm at Jose de Diego Middle School now, and it's a very cool and unique opportunity because being at that school, I'm able to really teach my kids about art programming, not just at the school. I work along with the Bakehouse to kind of introduce my kids to what professional artists are, and like I say, along with the idea, in short, in long, like to make a long story less long. Once like I say, once I had that opportunity, I had some really amazing teachers growing up, and I thought like, oh, I'll just do this for a couple years while I figure out how I want to move. But it's been since 2018, and I've been teaching ever since.
Wow. And what's your age range that you teach?
Middle school, honestly speaking, if I'm being 1,000% transparent, on average in between 11 and sometimes 14. So like
Mm.
that middle school, um,
That's a tough year.
yeah,
That's
for sure, for sure, for sure. But
um and what do you teach majority most of your curriculum is based on? Is it just technical? Do you do a combination of art history?
so we do a like so again, I'm at Jose de Diego, but I run the Magnet Art program. So in our
Mm,
Magnet Art program, we do some 2D, we do over the 3 years, it's a 3-year program. Over the 3 years, they explore two-dimensional art, three-dimensional art, art history, of course. Along with that, I kind of introduced them to like some photography. I want to actually incorporate more digital art. We have digital arts
mm,
classes, but resources aren't the greatest. So with that, I just kind of teach the elementary level of design. So I kind of introduced them to what it's like to go through the process of designing things in the digital art class. But it's a well-versed program. I try to
mm-hmm.
make sure my goal by the time they leave me in the 8th grade, they could pretty much write that for those who are still like on that path, they can write their check to whatever art high school that they want.
That's great. So going to the actual logistics of the application, so it's pretty straightforward. They'll tell you like where are you currently teaching, how many years have you taught, what is your grade levels, upload a resume and CV. And the first question is tell us where you would like to travel to learn about art and why.
Mhm.
So, Mark, what did you write? And tell
Um,
us about your winning project.
So I wanted to go and visit Europe. Being born and raised in Miami-Dade County, I've gone out. I've been fortunate now to have traveled a little, but one, I had never been out of the country, and then two, I think being even though the demographic of students that I serve aren't exactly from the exact same neighborhood that I'm from, it's a similar
Mm,
to who I was. And I thought that it was imperative as an art educator to be able to bring back to my students that there's more to the four walls around them, as I say. Like a lot of my students, sometimes they'll say, oh, Mr. Russell, I'm going out of town for the weekend. Where you going?
mm,
My mom taking me to West Palm, or we going to
mm-hmm,
Fort Lauderdale, and a lot of my students think that's out of town. And I just wanted to have the opportunity in choosing Europe. One, obviously, the great art history and how many great artists have come from that area, and I just wanted to make sure I kind of spoke to that, and I linked the art history to helping my students be informed, one, to where a lot of great artists are from, where a lot of great art was produced, and two,
Mm,
just the ability to travel and explore, and allow, I said like this, allow their art to allow them to see the world, you know? Um,
mm,
and with them, a lot of them not being able to travel, let alone within the country, realizing that it's a whole world outside. So just trying to open their minds up to that idea. And yeah, that was kind of, I think, what I kind of based my writing around.
hmm. And what was the specific curriculum that you brought back to your classroom from your travels?
So, one of the things I'm really fascinated with, like the sculptures, a lot of the old
Mm,
sculptures. One, just from the standpoint of these very old things being made and standing the test of time, but two, just the aesthetic of different sculptures, and even just the idea of not memorializing, but just cementing, yourself in history. So like what I decided to do with my students is we're getting actually in this fourth now, he's getting ready to work on it now. But I'm introducing, we're doing portraits, but using like a sculpture aesthetic in our portraits.
ooh,
So taking a 3D element and creating 2D art, but trying to take those different elements from that three-dimensional style of art and implementing it into their two-dimensional works. And the idea again is kind of like memorialize, not memorial, I don't know why I keep saying memorializing, but just kind of, I like the idea of the artists who produce those statues have been long gone, some of them, but their work still stands the test of time and is still around
mm,
way beyond them. So just helping my students recreate and establish a history for themselves is the kind of idea with that
mm.
we're working on in class.
All right. Well, this is your moment. You have some amazing imagery that you took that you wanted to share with us. So share screen and take it away.
For sure. Um, where is it? There we go. Sure. We can
I
see it,
was
yeah.
Yeah, I was commenting to this group that Mark is the ultimate teacher. The presentation alone, you're a perfect teacher based on the presentation alone.
Um,
Anyways, yes, take it away.
so I was saying to Esther earlier, I like to look good, not just how I dress, but in anything that I do, I like to, make sure I present well. So, a part of that obviously is just some of the photographs that I took while I was in Paris. I initially intended to do an experience where I visited different places within Europe, but looking at like they had an itinerary and a bunch of different things like that. And then when I was like finalizing everything for my trip, I thought it would have been a better idea for me to just spend some time in Paris, really taking the history and learning about the area and the art that is there in Paris. And I ended up spending my trip pretty much in Paris for the most part. And this is what, uh, a little bit about what I photographed. When I was there, I'm used to seeing like the older building structures, like what you see here in my background. So, my first day out, I don't care where I go in the world, I always gotta go to a mall if I'm buying a t-shirt. I don't necessarily spend a whole lot of money, but just malls are my thing. So as I was traveling to the mall, I saw these different structures and different buildings that I didn't necessarily expect, as well as I had never seen before. I thought this building was really unique, so I couldn't not take a picture of it. Even with this video here, just the different styles of structures like next to each other. I feel like this building right here is a little bit more modern, and literally the building right next to it is a little bit of a older style building. So I thought that dynamic was, really interesting. Of course, we can't go to Paris and not try the croissants. So I spent a lot of my times in the mornings in bakeries for sure. I had to get a little bit adjusted to the coffees because their coffee shops are definitely not like ours. The cream and everything like that. It's they have it if you know if you ask, but the coffee was different. But again, with me being in Paris, I wanted to kind of take in and get a feel for what Paris was like. In the mornings, I would always stop at a diner. And again, just try the cuisines that are there. Again, I like taking photos, like I like to dress. So I started like this is just one of my days, but every day before I headed out, I would do kind of like a fit check, if you will, of my different outfits. So this was one of my days. My apartment that I stayed in was in the fifth arrondissement, and there it was literally across the street from one of the largest universities in Paris. So I thought that was really cool to kind of grab something from that. Um, it was really cool, honestly. This little pathway was a block away from where my hotel was, and just getting as I was getting ingratiated with Paris, it was very different from my experience here in Miami or anywhere for the most part. I've been in Florida. I'm in, not even just Florida, but in America, honestly a lot of the streets are alleyways. And here I'm kind of honestly speaking taught not to really travel down alleys, stay on the main street when you're somewhere you're not familiar with. But the alleyways are the way that you travel in Paris. So just walking down them and you walking down a random alleyway and you run into an amazing shop or a high-end, like just different things. So those things were really interesting to me. This is one of my favorite places in Paris, the Luxembourg Garden. I literally lived there. Once they finally, it was a couple days at first where it was closed, but once I explored it, the first day that it was open, when I was there, after that, I probably was there almost every day. I just like the idea of just pulling up, grabbing a chair, whether I was sitting by the lake or sitting by one of the different various gardens. I would just, love, love, love. I like to people watch too, so I did a little sketching and things like that. Um, Again, talking to the different sculptures and things. When I was in the Louvre. This this was I like the figures in this series of this sculpture series, and I thought it was be cool to photograph it, but that was something that I really took a lot of time like exploring and just like capturing these different images of the different sculptures throughout the Louvre. At the bottom of the glass pyramid of the Louvre, there's like it's a reverse pyramid at the bottom. And I was trying to get like the perfect picture of like from the bottom of the bottom glass pyramid all the way to the top of the top one. And this is what I ended up taking, but I like this, so I photographed it. Again, I love to people watch, so I did like kind of take some little canvas like this of just people out and about exploring. This was on the no, I don't know what you would call it, but like as you exit the Louvre, it's like this really long pathway. And as I was walking in, I saw these little kids enjoying balloons, and so I just photographed that. Again, some more sculpture work from it within the Louvre. Um, where I stayed, it was probably a 3-minute walk from Shakespeare and Company, a really popular bookstore in Paris. I'm outside of me creating art, I'm very big on books. I love, love, love to read different novels, and how could you not visit it? It's called considered the zero point of Paris. Like it's considered at one point, I don't know if it still is today, but the center of Paris. And I bought a book at the time when I was there, and they stamped it, and it's like a little stamp stating that it's like zero, I think zero, I forgot, but basically it states that like it's the center of Paris. And this was a picture of me inside of the bookstore. While I was there, these were my best friends. I didn't take a picture of these two stores, but listen, when it came to like my art supplies and things like that, I want to say this name, but I know I'm gonna butcher it, so I'm not gonna try. But the store at the top, I bought all of it's a chain art store up there, kind of similar, I guess, to maybe a Michael's or somewhere like that. I would get like a lot of my art supplies and things like that while I was there. And then the Monoprix, that was my best friend. It's like their version of a Target slash Walmart, and everything you need, all the essentials are there, from your personal hygiene stuff to little breakfast and anything that you might need. They pretty much had at the Monoprix. So between those two places, those were like my survival guides. One of the places I visited while I was there, I visited the Rodin gallery, and not gallery, but like they have a house and they have a lot of Rodin's work on display there. And this is I think this was one of his original creations of the Gates of Hell. And um I've seen it in like in images and things like that before. Oh, I gotta add this. I was solo, so the tripod was my best friend. I had like a little selfie stick slash tripod, and anytime I needed like my little photos of myself, full shots, I would whip out my little tripod, stand it up, and grab my photos like this. One of the things that really amazed me, one of the things I picked up from visiting the Louvre and just going around different places, I would see a lot of copies of the same work, and I was kind of blown away from that, just realizing like they would create studies of these different pieces before they went into the production of the final pieces, or they would create smaller versions. And just reading like these were considered sketches, it really blew me away and made me realize how much they put into their art making process. And that's one of the things that even coming back with my students, I kind of preach like let's kind of highlight more the process of creating the art. Obviously, the end piece is always important, but just that process of getting to that, I kind of talk to them about. This is another one of those I struggle to say the name, but I want to say it was the Muse d'Orsay. They took like an old train station and they turned it into this art museum, and it has a bunch of different floors, upstairs, downstairs, underground. I think I'm at the top floor, and I took like this shot down looking at everything. And they have some really amazing statues that I really like, and they have a really dope, cool Art Nouveau section where it's like artwork, furniture, the whole nine. I really enjoyed inside of there. Even in looking at, I took a lot of pictures of statues similar to this because, again, in my personal work outside of teaching, I do a lot of portraits. So I was in the idea of trying to help my students even recreate themselves in a portrait, sculpturesque manner. I took a lot of photos of like sculpted portraits pretty much. So this was just a photo to kind of speak to that. I love, love, love this sculpture. So I kind of photographed it. Um, these are some of the other ones I found inside. In Paris, they have, I'm gonna butcher it, but I feel like it's the Arch de Triomphe, I want to say. But it's a really long walk up, but at the top of it you get a full view of the city. And this is a shot from on top of there. And yeah, that's basically how I spent my time. I kind of took in the culture of the city. I kind of studied some of the architecture, and then some of everything, like I said, that I saw at the different galleries. And even just walking throughout the city, you see a lot of different sculptures throughout um that really like grab hold to me. And those are the things I kind of brought back. So yeah, and of course, obviously, I love and appreciate the Ulites. I wasn't told to do this. It's just I'm really grateful. So yeah, that was in a nutshell my trip. But yeah,
Thank you.
no problem.
Amazing. All right, so we're going to open it up to some Q&A. Feel free to, unmute yourself, or if you wanted to put it in the chat, we could read it in the chat. So any questions for Mark or for myself or no, no questions really? I
I
mean,
have
it is pretty. Oh, go
I
ahead,
have a couple
Stephanie.
of
Sorry.
questions. For Mark, I want to know, like, did you show that presentation to your students and like what was their reaction to it?
My students' presentation was way more extensive. I probably have a gazillion photos. Even trying to put what I put together today, I went from like 100 down to like 20. I was like, Mark, you cannot hold these people forever in like your photos. But with my students, I did a little bit more of a vast array of images just to kind of show them. And for some of them to like Where honestly speaking, I got a couple of like where my students are like where that's at, where and just kind of opening them up to where it is. I talked to them about the flight over. You was on the plane for that long, and just kind of they were really honestly in awe of the experience. And I like to think based off what I can say for sure that I know happened. I had a student she had never really thought about going to an art high school before. And they had her originally in my like my regular art class, and I saw she had abilities, and then she saw this presentation and she was like, Mr. Russell, I'm not gonna lie, I really think I want to go at least try out art high school. And she was one of my four, I think I got 3 or 4 students who were going to Dash next year, who ended up we worked on her portfolio, got her situated, and now she's headed to Dash next school year. So that was like one like really highlight thing that came from that time.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I'm curious
Um,
when like the winners would be announced.
oh, the winners, you guys find out in September. And you have approximately a little over a year to do the travel. So, we
Okay, so
know
next
teachers,
summer.
yeah. So 2025, yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously teachers get breaks on summer. So, and you traveled in the summer, right, Mark?
Right, I traveled in the summer. I went from July 31st until like August 11th, I want to say.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I spent a pretty decent time in Paris.
Nice.
Yeah.
Any other questions? And answering Jenny's question, you could definitely reapply if we've had teachers who've gotten it twice.
Gotcha.
So Mark, if you want to go somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm going for honestly speaking this year. I'm aiming to go for both. I'm gonna reapply for the teacher travel
Oh,
grant as well as the creators. So I'm kind of excited,
awesome.
to shoot my shot. But um, but what I can say is, guys, I know I try to be clear and like make sure I explain pretty well, but I think the thing that really did it for me, as I was writing my as I was doing my writing, I was kind of trying to figure out initially, like obviously I wanted to win and have this opportunity, but I was trying to find the right words to say at first, and then eventually it came down to like, you're being an artist, stop overthinking this, just speak truthfully. And that's honestly what I wrote. And that I feel like I was like, you're being honest, you're being genuine. I feel like that should that should do. And honestly speaking, it was enough. It was more than enough. I had that opportunity. And I feel like honestly, just being able to speak to, like I say, what my travels were. And I have to I would be remiss not to take the opportunity. It was my art mentor. She's now moved on to Gainesville, but her name was Rebecca Quiroga. She was the art teacher at Jose de Diego before me. She wanted either like during COVID or right before. And she was like, man, you need to apply. And I was in my head about it. And I was like, oh, and like I said, once I kind of fought myself and got out of my head and just was honest and just wrote what I really was hoping to bring back to my students, I feel like that's what gave me the opportunity, honestly. So,
Dorothy, you had a question? Sorry, I think earlier you were about to say something.
Yes, I was just gonna ask, when is it due and what is, I mean, actually Mark just spoke about it. I was gonna ask Mark about what he believes made him win that opportunity. That was 2 questions.
The application is due April 29th. So that's Monday, April, so the last Monday of the month. So you have about 2.5 more weeks.
and I guess a little bit more I could add to that. Like when I wrote it, like, and speaking about my students, it was obviously to add elements to them back into their class, but with my overarching goal of like teaching students that you can make a viable living as an artist, that was something that I believe I kind of mentioned in there as well. Just kind of connecting it not just to the classroom specifically, but to the classroom and beyond, of how me having this opportunity, would spur that opportunity for the next generation, because it was my teachers in the past generation who made an impact on me. And now I have the opportunity, with that trip and everything else that I'm doing today, to kind of give back to my students and just show them, and honestly speaking, their parents, that art is viable. Um, yeah, that's my biggest sell, that every day I'm like a walking billboard. You can make a living as an artist. And I tell you, you'll be,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Any other questions?
Mhm. If I may ask, I was just wondering how the grants are funded.
Oh, we have an endowment, the organization. So part of that endowment goes to the Ellies.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I mean, I,
So,
I guess I
mhm.
could even speak to that if you don't mind, Esther. Even the process of, if you are awarded the opportunity, I really appreciate the Lights and the Ellies for making the process. It's not a difficult process, honestly, to apply. It's not hard. And then if you are awarded it, just making sure you just keep track of everything that you like are doing. Like she said, like for me specifically, I bought my passport because I had never been out of the country. I paid for my flights, I paid for my hotel, like, and even in doing my reports and everything like that, the process was, it wasn't hard at all. It was easy, not to over like sell the simplicity of it, but they did a really good job of making sure every step of the way it was easy to, make sure that I was able to comply and get them what they needed. So yeah.
Yeah, that's very purposeful. I mean, full disclosure, there's no fee. So you could apply as many times as you like. And it's really about the idea. And so, folks, we've had people go to Japan to learn about block print making. We've had folks that wanted to do like a journey with all of the women contemporary artists in the Southeast. So like, Georgia O'Keeffe, going visiting New Mexico. I mean, just like really inspirational ideas that's going to really heighten your teaching when you come back from these travels. So, but it's very straightforward. There's only two questions that you have to kind of answer. And then and we limit it so it's not like we're expecting like essays, you know. So that's it. Really, it's just the idea. Any Dorothy? Yeah, sorry.
Yes, another question to you, Mark.
Uh-huh.
What was from the beginning, from just like where we are now,
Uh-huh.
applying to the end of the travel experience? What would you say was the hardest part for you?
The hardest part was dealing with myself again. I don't know if it's an art thing. Some people say it's because I'm a Virgo. I don't really know what that means, but a lot of times I'm in my head and I overthink things. Once I honestly speaking, I probably submitted my application on the last day, just being in my head about it. But just like mark it out of your head, like go for it, do it. If you get it, excellent. If you don't, there's always next year. Like, don't worry. Just like I tell my students all the time in sports, like I make a lot of sports references, but I tell them you can't make a shot that you don't shoot. And so for me, it was just like, you'll never win this opportunity or get this opportunity if you don't first submit the application. And I just followed through and I submitted. Honestly, that was the myself was the hardest. That was the hardest element, truthfully.
That's a really good point. You don't know if you're going to make the shot if you don't shoot. That's very true. Any other questions here? No. Well, again, this session is going to live on our YouTube. So once it's up, we'll send all the participants and registered the link so you can go back. And we are doing office hours as well, both myself and Laura, this coming Monday and the following Monday. All of that information is on the website. If you have very specific questions you want to ask us, you could sign up for those office hours. But again, just apply. There's really nothing, there. No barrier of entry, completely free. You could apply as many times as you like. And just as long as it's a really great and inspirational idea, you might have a chance. So, yeah. Any last words, Mark? No?
Um, no, just only thing I would like to say is shoot the shot for yourself as well as your students and what you give to those students in those classes. I think the biggest thing and the last thing I would say, especially as educators, and especially as art educators, like we play a very, in my opinion, it's hard a lot of times, class sizes, we could go down the list of why it's hard, but having the opportunity to pour into students and tap into their creative sides, we a lot of times introduce them to opportunities that they aren't necessarily aware of, or just the possibilities. And you taking the time to do this and potentially winning this honestly could, spark the next, who knows. So
Absolutely.
shoot the shot.
Yeah, beautifully said. Well, thank you so much, everyone, and hope everyone has a great rest of this beautiful Saturday. So
Yes.
see you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.